Welcome, Pioneer fans, to another edition of the SHU Sports Report. We have a lot of ground to cover, so without any further ado, I'm Anthony Saccone.
And I'm Ryan Toohey. Anthony, women's ice hockey had a big NUHA matchup this week.
That's right, Ryan. The Pioneers look to continue their win streak after taking 2 wins against Johnson and Wales. Sacred Heart women's ice hockey had an excellent weekend with a pair of victories over Post. In the first period, Sacred Heart would get on the board first as sophomore Lexi Edwards scored the first goal of the game. In the second period, Sacred Heart was in full throttle. The Pioneers erupted for 4 goals in the second period alone. Junior defenseman Jane Lewis buried a pair of goals, while fellow classmate Victoria Grimmer scored, and first-year Dakota McMahon added one as well. The Pioneers breezed to a 5-0 victory. Senior goaltender Sarah Urban recorded 14 saves en route to her shutout victory in net. In Saturday's contest against Post, Sacred Heart's defense remained the focal point for the Pioneers as they shut out Post for the second day in a row. As for the offense, Lexi Edwards continued her scoring touch from Friday as she tallied a couple of goals in the contest. First-year Anna Klein also found the back of the net, and the Pioneers went on to win this one 3-0. Sophomore goaltender Kayla Walewski improved her record to 2-0 as she recorded 13 saves during her shutout performance. First-year Anna Klein was named NUHA Rookie of the Week for her contribution in the 2-game sweep against Post. Sacred Heart has a bye as they look to prepare against NUHA foe Franklin Pierce for a 2-game series starting on the 16th and the 17th.
The team is 6-3-1 on the young season and look to continue their 4-game win streak. We'll keep it on the ice as the men's ice hockey team had a 2-game series as well against conference foe Bentley. SHU hit the road over the weekend to face off against the tough Bentley team, looking to improve on their 0-2-1 record. In the first game on Friday, SHU quickly fell behind 1-0 as Bentley scored just a minute and 16 seconds into the game. In the opening minute of the second period, redshirt junior Jason Cotton scored a power play goal to tie the game. Just 3 minutes later, freshman Ryan Steele scored the go-ahead goal to give SHU their first lead of the game. But the Pios didn't stop there. In the third period, junior forward Austin McElmurray provided a huge insurance goal for the Pioneers to increase the lead to 2. Bentley was able to sneak the puck past senior goalie Brett Magnus with a minute remaining in regulation, but time wasn't on their side as the Pios went on to capture their first victory of the season by taking the game 3-2. SHU aimed to sweep the series the next day, and it appeared at first that would happen. In the first period, sophomores Matt Tugnut and Alex Bates both scored to give the Pios a 2-0 lead. However, that was all the team would be able to do offensively. Bentley cut the lead in half in the second period and would wind up tying the game in the third. The game wound up going into a 5-minute overtime, and Bentley would defeat Sacred Heart by scoring the game-winning goal on a power play. The men's ice hockey team returns to action this weekend for 2 games against the Black Knights of Army West Point. They will play at West Point tomorrow night starting at 7:05. They will then return to Webster Bank Arena on Saturday afternoon to host the Black Knights for a 2:05 matchup.
A lot of games coming up for the hockey team, but we will keep the show rolling with some Sacred Heart swimming and diving as they are in full stride of their fall schedule. The team had a dual meet this past Saturday against Manhattan and Holy Cross. Sacred Heart came away with the sweep, defeating Manhattan 228-66 and Holy Cross by a score of 157-140. Junior Lauren Summers continued to shine as she won the 50, the 100, and the 200 freestyle events. Freshman Taylor Eck also had a great day as she took first place in both the 100 and the 200 backstroke. However, her biggest contribution was placing third in the 100-yard butterfly event, which wound up being the difference maker in the meet between Sacred Heart and Holy Cross. Holy Cross was leading Sacred Heart by 10 points going into the butterfly, but Eck's third-place finish, along with a first-place finish from sophomore Emily Peter and a second-place finish from freshman Nicole Tingley, propelled the Pios to win the event. The swimming and diving team returns to the pool this Saturday when they take on Assumption College for a 12:30 matchup.
And stay tuned, Pio fans, because after the break, we have the men's basketball head coach along with our very own Gino Ganello.
Welcome back to the SHU Sports Report. We have a special doubleheader for this week's Coach's Corner. First up, we have women's basketball head coach Jessica Minetti with us. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me here, Gino.
It's crazy that the season has already started. We're already back in college basketball season. You guys kicked off your season on Tuesday night against UMass, and you guys had a great second half. What were some of the positives that you were able to take from this game and you're able to use now moving forward?
Well, that's a great question. I think we were much more resilient in the second half. We went down by quite a bit in the second quarter, and I challenged them in the locker room to say, hey, resilience is our theme this year. They chose it. It was something that we really talked about wanting to stand for throughout the season. And when I challenged them to be resilient, to kind of get out of their own way, stop getting so caught up in what we can't control and worry about what we can control, second half was awesome. We were where we were supposed to be defensively. We were rebounding. We were being aggressive in transition. So I think, we won the second half on paper. Man, if we could put two halves together, I think we'll be something pretty special moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's great to take from the first game if you guys can find that type of resilience and keep that moving forward, because that type of attitude will be important come later in the season. But yeah. You guys are returning a lot of starters this year, but one starter that you guys are now missing is graduating, or that graduated, was Tykira Carter. Important part of the team. How are you guys, or who should I say, will be filling that void in that role this year?
Yeah, that's a great question. Ty was really special. She brought a lot to the table and worked really hard and was just kind of gritty and found a way to be what we needed her to be when we needed her to be that. So I think replacing someone like Ty is going to be a tall order, but we have a sophomore who actually played significant minutes for us last year in Adrienne Haygood, who now starts, and she got in a little bit of foul trouble early last night. But in the second half, she really started to get comfortable and to play her game. And if she can stay out of foul trouble moving forward, I think she is one of the most dynamic scorers I've ever had the opportunity to coach. She has a really aggressive mindset. She can get to the rim and contort her body in a way that is unexpected. You're just like, wow, oh my gosh, how did that go in? But she can also shoot. So she brings that same element that Ty was able to bring, where she is a dynamic scorer and she really does want to lock in defensively for us. So I think we're going to see some pretty good things from her if she can stay out of foul trouble.
We'd love to hear that, and we're looking forward to seeing that on the court along with all the other players. And we're going to get a chance to do that as you guys take on Siena on Tuesday, November 13th. What should we expect as you guys take the court from this team going into Siena, or going to take on Siena, and then for the rest of the season?
Well, I think we return a veteran squad, and that's really fun for us. We haven't added anybody to our roster except for a transfer, Nikki Johnson, and Nikki can't play this year. So she does a great job challenging us every day in practice to kind of expose our weaknesses. But I think this veteran squad has redemption on the mind. We struggled in the beginning of conference season last year. We really finished strong. And that's the note they ended on that they want to continue moving forward with. And so our foreign tour to Argentina was amazing. We really got a chance to bond both on and off the court with a lot of different elements, with a challenging basketball piece, but then also they really like each other. We have really, really great players. They're high character kids, and they get along really well. We have really fun chemistry. And so I think on the court, hopefully you'll get to see that now that we're a year in, we're a little bit more experienced. We're still going to try and play fast, smart, and tough, as always, the Sacred Heart tradition, and in a quest for that gold ball, as always. But I think with a veteran squad and some really great leadership, you're going to see just the next level of where we finished last year and how we really are going to challenge ourselves to be great every day.
Well, Coach, we're really looking forward to it. Thanks for coming down and talking about the 2018-2019 season with us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Gino. Thank you so much.
Be sure to head out to the Pitt Center to cheer on the women's basketball team as they host Siena November 13th for a 6 p.m. tip-off. After the break, we'll have the men's basketball head coach to wrap up the double feature here on the Coach's Corner. Welcome back to the second half of this week's Coach's Corner. We're here with head coach Anthony Latina. Coach, thanks for spending some time with us.
My pleasure to be here.
Coach, it's crazy. The 2018-2019 season's already underway for you guys. Got one in the books already. Guys have a young team this year. and getting their first action last night. What were some of the positives that you saw from the game last night?
Well, the positives were we kind of got punched in the mouth early in the game. I thought we responded, we fought back, we showed some grit and some toughness and some leadership. The other thing is some of our new guys showed that they can make some plays. The game did not start how we wanted to. Holy Cross is a veteran team. They have everybody back from last year. They have like 90% of their scoring back. And they play a unique style. So we knew it wasn't a great matchup in terms of our young players and their style of play, and they're very deliberate in how they play. So they kind of surprised us. Not surprised us, but it's very hard to mimic what they do because it's so unique and they do it differently. But we responded. We showed some fight in the second half. We got back into the game. We scored a lot of points, which is something that's always a concern when you have a young team. But we got to play a little bit more discipline. We got to defend a little bit better. But certainly the positives outweighed the negatives. And we come back home next Monday and hopefully get on the winning track.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're looking forward to seeing you guys here at home. But we touched on the fact that you guys have some young faces this year, relatively all new starting lineup except for Sean Hohen. What do you expect from the young guys this year, and how does the leadership from Sean Hohen help those young guys as the season moves forward?
That's a great question. Sean is going to be a big key because he's been through it. He's basically a 4-year starter. And so his leadership is just going to be paramount for us if we're going to have the type of year we're going to have. Now, the good thing about these young guys, these new guys, is there is a decent talent level there, so they can make some plays. But we just have to do it a little more consistently, be a little more disciplined, and I think Sean can show these guys what it takes day in and day out to be successful. Because if you play well every other game or every third game, you're 1-2 every 3 games. Well, that's not a recipe for a good year. So I think the consistency aspect of it is what kind of Sean has shown these young guys. But very encouraged by not only our freshmen, but a guy like EJ Anasicki, who's a sophomore, who did some good things, and Jarrell Spellman, who's a junior, but he's really a young junior. He sat out, didn't play last year, played basketball, started playing basketball later in life, and he was encouraging as well. So I think we have pieces from a talent perspective, from a character perspective. Now we just have to go out and perform more consistency, which takes some time, and we're going to have to be patient with each other as well, because we're not going to probably have instant success. But I think if we do that and keep improving, I think by the time we get to mid-January, late February, I think we can definitely be a team that can be in contention in the Northeast Conference.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys looks like you got a great team this year, just even from the first game. And like you mentioned, home opener coming up on Monday, Western New England at the Pitt Center. What should we as fans expect to see when we come out to support you guys?
Well, one of the things that we're trying to get back to, which we did in our first 3 or 4 years, was we want to play fast. I mean, we scored 81 points last night on the road against a team that really slows the game down. Now, we gave up too many points, but we scored some points. So we want to get back to playing fast again. One is because we think it's a fun style to play and fun style to watch, but also I think it plays to the strengths of our players. So hopefully you'll see a team that plays fast, plays very hard, a team that rebounds on both ends, and a team that's going to make some individual plays. As we get going, we want to play a little more together and share the ball a little bit more. But again, last night, Tuesday night, one of the things that we showed was that we have some guys that can make some individual plays, which is important, late in shot clock, late in games. But throughout the game, I think we have to play a little bit more together and have some more assisted plays and less individual plays. But like I said, the positive is late in games, when people defend all your things and they know what you're doing, you need guys that can kind of make a play on their own. And I think we showed last night we can do that. So that was encouraging. But there's good things to build on. We're playing an opponent that we're probably going to be favored in, so we have to take advantage of that. And hopefully we have a great crowd and play well for in front of our home fans.
Well, Coach, that's all the time we have. Thanks for coming down and talking about the 2018-2019 season with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The men's team hosts Western New England November 12th for a 7:30 p.m. tip, so make sure to get down to the Pitt Center and show some support. Stay tuned, because after the commercial break, Anthony and Ryan have a few more Sacred Heart sports to get you caught up on.
We're back and we are ready to give you more Sacred Heart sports action.
And why don't we start off the home stretch with some women's volleyball?
Well, Anthony, the women's volleyball team is nearing the end of their NEC regular season slate and are in the hunt for a Northeast Conference tournament berth. The Pioneers hosted their final 2 home games of the season as they hosted Bryant and CCSU. Sacred Heart looked to claim a higher seed than both teams, who sat at 2 and 3 respectively. For the first home matchup, Sacred Heart took on Bryant in a tough back-and-forth match. The two teams were neck and neck, pushing the match not only into the 5th set, but into extra points as well. SHU would take set 2 and 3 after falling to Bryant in the first set. Bryant would squeak out a win in set 4 and ultimately win the 5th set off of 2 errors by the Pioneers, 17-15. Redshirt junior Liesl Ellis led SHU with a double-double, claiming 23 kills and 12 digs on the day. The women's volleyball team looked to bounce back and claim a final home win the next night as they hosted CCSU for Senior Day. With the tournament berth on the line, the Pioneers came out swinging. CCSU didn't stand a chance as Sacred Heart took all 3 sets. Both the first and second sets were won by at least 9 points, while the third and final set was won to complete the sweep 25-21. 2 Pioneers reached double figures in kills as Nels once again led with 13. First-year Sarah Sizik was named the Moulton/NEC Rookie of the Week for our outstanding performance over the weekend. The Pioneers clinched the 4th and final spot in the NEC tournament, but have 2 more road games before heading into the tournament against host LIU Brooklyn. SHU heads out to Pennsylvania to face off against St. Francis U and Robert Morris. The Pioneers face off against the Red Flash tomorrow for a 4:30 serve.
And another team in the hunt for an NEC title is the Sacred Heart football team, who look to continue their undefeated streak in the Northeast Conference. The Sacred Heart Pioneers faced off against Robert Morris this past weekend, looking for their 3rd win in a row and to remain undefeated in conference play. SHU football did just that as they blew the covers off Robert Morris, defeating them 38-7. It was a first half for the Pioneers to remember, as they scored 35 straight points and took the game into halftime 35-0. Coming off a huge rushing performance against Bryant, the offense kept that trend going. 50-year quarterback Kevin Duke ran in a pair of touchdowns in the first half, each from a yard out. Then the double team of senior Jordan Meacham and first-year Julius Chestnut did their thing, as Meacham rushed for a 16-yard touchdown and a 6-yard touchdown rush, and Chestnut added a monstrous 72-yard touchdown run in the first half as well. SHU would add just a field goal in the second half, but that didn't matter because the defense played absolutely stifling. SHU held Robert Morris to just 10 first downs and only 172 yards of total offense on the day. Chestnut's performance garnered him the NEC Rookie of the Week, while junior Chris Adjamang was named NEC Defensive Player of the Week after tallying 1.5 sacks and 2.5 tackles for a loss among the 7 tackles he had on the day. SHU football's next game is a huge one. Sacred Heart travels to Pittsburgh on Saturday, taking on Duquesne. The game will kick off at 12 p.m., and with a win against the Dukes, Sacred Heart can claim the NEC Conference title and an automatic bid into the FCS playoffs.
And last but certainly not least, we'll wrap up the show with a team that wrapped up their 2018 season over the weekend. And that would be Sacred Heart men's soccer. The team had their final game of the season on Saturday against St. Francis Brooklyn in what was also Senior Day. The game was quite the way for the team to end their season. Sacred Heart got on the board first as first-year Segundo Navarro scored at the 19th minute mark of the first half thanks to assists from senior Oscar Curras and sophomore Xander Hilltoft. St. Francis would respond, however, in the 32nd minute to tie things up at 1, and the score would remain that way for a long time. Neither team could score in the second half, forcing the game to go to overtime. Both sides played very well defensively, however, this prevented them from striking offensively. Overtime came and went without either side scoring, which forced the game into a second overtime. Finally, in the 102nd minute of the game, redshirt sophomore Alton Salej scored the game-winning goal to propel the Pioneers to a 2-1 victory. With the win, men's soccer finishes their season 4-12-1 overall and 3-5 in conference play. Although they didn't qualify for the NEC tournament, the game was still an exhilarating way for the seniors to go out.
It's hard to believe that soccer has finished while basketball has just kicked off their season.
Before we know it, March Madness will be here along with lacrosse, baseball, and softball.
It's crazy to think, but unfortunately that is all the time we have for you this week. But Pile fans, be sure to tune in next week for all of your Sacred Heart sports action, highlights, and more. From all of us here at the SHU Sports Report, I'm Anthony Saccone.
And I'm Ryan Toohey. Have a great weekend.